Montana?
Probably more than I do.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
Show me about this.
Well, this particular piece, there's a lot of white opal, common opal.
In the agate?
In the agate, yeah. It'll be layered in, and I've got a beautiful...
Show me the white opal versus the regular agate.
Well, the little white spots.
That's opal.
Yeah, will be
in. Is that undercut because the opal's softer than the agate?
No, I've never had any real trouble.
So it's fully encapsulated?
But I don't... you get light from this? Enough to...
I need some with light and some without light.
This one.
You'll see...
Now explain this type, but this is a very classic banding pattern, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Explain that to me, and how to cut it and window it. Or candle it, as you like to say, because you're the only guys on the planet to use the term candling.
Right. Well, because I grew up on a farm, you candled eggs to see that they didn't have a chicken embryo in them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that.
If you're on a farm, they might have been there 3 days. You know, so, yeah.
I'm not from a farm.
Anyway.
Oh.
Well, believe it or not, you want to get in a dark room, and believe it or not, I use a trouble light, but what works almost the best is a flashlight. It's such a direct beam, and you know, when you have like here, you can see color. Lots of them are like a potato on the outside.
Look at this one with the banding on the outside.
Yeah,
I love that. Looks like a Laker, doesn't it?
Yeah, there will occasionally be one that looks a lot like that. I can tell you several. We're getting ahead here. Here, let's look here. This is a Montana agate that is partially layer agate. You know, when it's really flat, the silica was laid in layers on top of each other over time, and then sometimes there'll be part layer, and then you'll get a blob of regular agate on top. You know, more just a amorphous blob. You know.
Now these are nodules that were weathered out of the rock they formed in, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say. The story that Tom Harmon...
Yeah, you say that like you're disappointed.
Well, no. Tom Harmon, who knows as much about agate as anyone up in Savage, actually has the Montana agate museum there.
Okay.
And so he has the best of everything. He's a good man. But he, you know, mostly it was, they think, volcanic activity. You know, the Yellowstone Park's a giant caldera.
All right, that's... So
over the millennia, once every 10,000 years, it will erupt. They think it buried forests, and the parts that, and a limb, I don't have my, somebody was talking to me, they'll come in limb casts where you can absolutely
see. These are limb casts?
Well, these are more either part of a limb cast or just a void. It doesn't have to be a limb cast, but somehow the wood does not all get incinerated, so it leaves voids, and over time, the silica-rich water goes in and deposits, and the reds that you get will be a bit of an iron, you know, ferrous oxide, whatever. There's a real red. Farther down the river, for some reason, as you get toward North Dakota, you're going to see more red like that one and this one.
How big is the range you find them in? Like how many miles about?
Of the reds or of
the agates in general?
Okay. I have found them all the way where I grew up in North Dakota on the farm, all the way to Gardner, right where the Yellowstone River comes out of Yellowstone Park.
Okay.
But the best is going to be, you can find some in Billings, but as you get down toward Forsyth, Miles City, Glendive, and then head north, you know, where it heads up to Sydney and into the Missouri River eventually in North Dakota. Now, there's agate everywhere. The reason we find it on the river is because that has chewed away the overburden.
Yeah.
You know, its stuff is glaciated and it's covered up. And in fact, on an outside turn of the Yellowstone River, there will sometimes be a 100-foot bank, which is a good thing because once in a while those will cave in. But what you'll see way up there, maybe 60 feet in the air, is all of a sudden, because it'll be mud, and then there'll be a gravel layer about that thick, where it used to be river bottom. I mean, we're talking, you know this, we're talking about giant terms of time.
How long ago?
Millions well, who knows? But I'm just saying, it took time for that to get buried, and then the river to come around and start eating away again. I mean, if you think about it, so we're talking millions and millions of years of time here, I think. And the black will be more manganese, you know, and you can get yellows that sort of, I think, are a combination of, you know, you get different colors going together.
So how would you describe this pattern? Like, I've always thought of it as kind of like a leopard pattern. But what would you...
my favorites almost are the black dots and the orange calcite.
Now, where does that come from, a specific area?
No, again, to find any red, you've got to be, you know, you tend to be a little bit farther down in the river, you know, from Forsyth on down, Glendive, that country. And one you want to find.
Now, how many do you find in a day? Like pieces like that? If you work hard for a day?
Yeah.
On average?
Oh, jeebers. First of all, let me say, well, I would say that half the agate you find, I mean, a certain percentage doesn't even come home. But
how do you decide in the field what you're going to keep and what you're not?
Well, if it's a full agate, you can't really tell. You can't really tell.
Happy to find an agate.
You take them home.
You're finding agates and you're letting them go?
Right. No, only if they're just little pieces that I can they're just like a light bulb at the sun. And I'm pretty, they're just clear. They're a clear skin even. I mean, now a dark skin, once you're a quarter inch in there, I've had pieces. I'm disorganized this trip, my first trip, but you can hold it like this, and I swear to God, you swear there's nothing in there, and you turn it over, and it's only that thick, and inside can be beautiful dendrites and stuff. The light bends around them, you know what I'm saying? The shadows you'll see is bigger color, but little things, you will miss them because the light just bends around them, and you're not even aware they're in there. So when in doubt, I take them home. Get in a dark room. And even then I've thrown some away that were probably good.
Now,
but anyways, these flat ones.
On expanding? Is that pretty much found throughout everywhere? On expanding is straight line.
Yeah, we just call it layer agate. But yes, that's right. And see, again, you've got some white in the layer agate, and that'll be just some common opal laid in there. It's not particularly worth anything, but it does offset the black and can be real pretty. One thing, it's very fractured, Montana agate. When you find what I call cow pies, which are, basically that shape, kind of flat like a cow pie hit the ground, and they tend to be not as fractured. I can see one big line, but on the other hand, there's probably a whole end here and a whole end here that's not. Whereas your round ones, for some reason, I don't know if they were formed at different times, they tend to have more fractures in them. So when I see these, and then if they've got color in them, I get real excited. Now, most agates as you find them, they give a conchoidal fracture. Okay, that's why people have been buying my stuff this trip to make arrowheads and points out of, and the Indians did. You need to kind of heat treat it first, but it's a conchoidal fracture because it's very tiny crystals.
Because it looks like a shell, like a conch shell type fracture.
Obsidian would be your classic conchoidal fracture. It makes a cutting edge,
And there's an elasticity to that type of rock too, isn't there? Like I was reading about napping, and it said that the materials you got to use, there is almost an elasticity to the rock.
Especially if you heat treat and stuff, I think, because I was talking to him about it yesterday. It makes it work better. It does something with all the little tiny crystal structure in there. Yeah, that allows it to smooth it. I don't know where I was with that. You will often find hollow ones. What has happened? Well, what has happened? I mean, there's a little hole in that one. So the microcrystalline quartz is on the outside. That's the chalcedony, which is basically the clear agate is chalcedony, and then the impurities are what gives it the color. And you will find large quartz crystals have been inside of there, and it's still the same hardness, but for some reason they come out easier. They fall apart, break out, and you will find quite a few limb casts.
So actual tree replacements?
Yeah, that will be hollow on the inside. I mean, I've seen them that long where you can look right through them.
Really?
Through the middle. So they're good agate all the way around, and then in the middle, those large crystals. Look at here, people.
Now you just
$5 a keychain with a Montana agate heart, and I haven't sold one. Look at that baby.
I'm purchasing one of his unique designs. These I think are cool. Hold that up for a minute though, because that's the other thing we're talking about here. That one there, $5.
Yeah.
All done by hand.
I mean,
still made in the USA.
Yeah. Stronger than steel.
If anyone's interested,
well, you can throw it around. Drop them. They don't break very easy.
No,
because agates are harder than steel. As far as their scratch resistance.
Yeah, right. Oh. Got a good story. When I first started picking agates, went to the farm where I grew up. My brother still farms. Bring this agate that I'm pretty sure is an agate. Scott can see a few dots in it. And he says, "Well, let's go down to the shop. We'll figure out. I got to have a tool down there, somewhere." We went down there and used every steel tool we owned and couldn't scratch an agate. Couldn't scratch it.
Yeah. Well, from whacking them too.
Now, here, let me show you.
I like that double one. It's beautiful. Now let's talk about the manganese for a minute.